Okay, this is the beginning of a new chapter, chapter 3, dealing with measurement. We're going to do a little bit of practice and review of fractions. Let's do some get started here. We've got, number one, we've got express each fraction as a decimal. And you can see the little tech tip on the left-hand column there. It says to change a fraction to a decimal on any calculator, enter the numerator, which is the top part of the fraction, and divide that into the denominator, which is the bottom, and hit equals. Okay, so the first one, we've got 1/2 is equal to 1 divided by 2. You can see that right here in the margin, which is equal to 0.5. Okay, let's do B. 3/10. We want to convert that to a decimal. We just take the top number 3, divide it into 10. Okay, so we just turn that on, clear it. We've got 3 divided by 10, and we've got 0.3. 3/4, we take 3 divided by 4 in our calculator, and that equals 0.75. Just the fact that we said the number 3/4, if you were to have 3/4 of money in your hand, you would have 75 cents. 2/5, well, that's 2 divided by 5, which is 0.4. Okay, so very simple to convert a fraction to a decimal. Take the top numerator, divide it into the denominator. Number 2, express each fraction in simplest terms. Well, we've got 8/10, and we want to simplify that fraction, so we look at what is the largest number that will divide equally into the numerator and the denominator. And in this case, it's the number 2, so we want to simplify 8/10 down to its lowest form. We divide each number by 2, so 8 divided by 2 is 4, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. So 4/5 is the equivalent fraction of 8/10. It's just simplified. Let's do B, 6/8. Well, what number divides equally into 6 and 8, the largest number? Again, it's probably 2, so we take 6 divided by 2 all over 8 divided by 2, and 6 divided by 2 is 3, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. So 6/8 is the same as 3/4, just in a simplified form. 10/16. Well, what number divides equally into 10 and 16? The largest number, and the only one I can think of is the number 2 as well. So 10/16, we're going to take 10, divide that by 2, all over 16, divide that by 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5, and 16 divided by 2 is 8. So 10/16 is equivalent to 5/8. And 4/32. Well, what is the largest number that will divide equally into 4 and 32? Well, it just happens to be the number 4. So we take 4 divided by 4, all over 32 divided by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 32 divided by 4 is 8. So 4/32 is equivalent to the fraction 1/8. Let's do number 3. Express each mixed number as an improper fraction. Okay, so they are in proper fractions right now. Okay, we want to convert it to an improper fraction, which means we don't have a whole number in front. So there's a little trick to this. What you do is, if you have the number 2.5, you take the bottom denominator 2, multiply it by the large number 2 in front, the whole number in front. So 2 times 2 is 4, and then you add the numerator, which is 5. And then you place it all over the denominator 2. So 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So 2.5 is the same as 5, the fraction 5/2. Okay, let's do B. We have 3 and 9/10. So we take the denominator 10, multiply it by 3, which is 30, and we add the number 9, which is 39. And we place it over the denominator 10. So 3 and 9/10 is the same as 39/10. Okay? 8 3/4. 4 times 8 is 32, plus 3 is 35. We place it over the denominator, which is 4. 16/1/8. Well, 16 times 8 is 128, plus 1 is 129. You use your calculator for that. 129 all over the denominator 8. Okay? So that's how you convert a mixed number into an improper fraction. Now, for number 4, it says express each improper fraction as a mixed number, so we want to convert it the other way. Well, what we do is we take the denominator, which is 4, and we see how many times it divides into the numerator. So 4 goes into 5 one time, because 4 times 1 is 4. So it goes in there 1 time, but what is left over? Well, if it goes into there 4 times, 5 subtract 4 is 1. So we've got 1 out of 4 left over. So 5/4 is the same as 1 1/4. Let's do B. The denominator 10 divides into the number 23. It goes 2 times because 10 times 2 is 20. And so I can write 2 here, big whole number 2. 10 times 2 is 20, and the difference between 20 and 23 is 3. I have 3 remaining, so I put my remainder on the top, and I just put the denominator back on the bottom. Okay, so 23 over 10 is the same as 2 3/10. Let's do C. 2 divides into 15 how many times? Well, we know that 2 times 7 is 14. That's as close to 15 as we can get without going over. So 2 times 7 is 14, so my first whole number is 7. 2 times 7 is 14. That's one difference between 14 and 15, so I have 1 left over, and then I put my denominator back there, and I end up with 7.5. 8 into 35. I have the fraction 35 over 8. 8 goes into 35 how many times? 8 times 4 is 32. Okay, it has to be below 35, so I know it's at least 4, so my whole number is 4. 8 times 4 is 32. The difference between 35 and 32 is 3. So I have 3 remainder, and I put it over my denominator of 8. So that's how you convert between proper and improper fractions. Okay? Number 5, calculate. It says express the result in simplest terms. Well, we're going to add 3/4 plus 2/4. What's nice about adding 2 fractions together that have the same denominator is that when I want to find the solution, I just put my answer over the same denominator and I just add the 2 top numbers. So because they both have a denominator of 4, I just have to add the 2 top numbers together, and 3 plus 2 is 5. So 3/4 plus 2/4 is just 5/4. Okay, let's do B. I have 5/8 and I want to subtract 1/4. Well, you notice that the denominators are different. Okay, but I have to look for what is common between them. I need to find a common denominator between 8 and 4, a number that 8 and 4 will divide into equally, and that is the number 8. So if what I do is I make both fractions have the denominator of 8, so I don't have to change the 5/8. It stays the same as 5/8, and I'm going to subtract something over 8. So I have to find the equivalent fraction of 1/4 expressed in an eighth. Well, I take the number 4, and I look how that relates to the number 8, and it's double the size. To get to 8 from 4, I had to multiply by 2. So that means I take the number 1 up here, and I multiply that by 2, and 1 times 2 is 2. So I can say that the number 1/4 is equivalent to 2/8. Now that I've got the same bottom denominator, just like I did in A here, I can do the simple math. So I have 5/8 subtract 2/8. My answer is going to be, have an 8 on the bottom, and 5 subtract 2 is just 3. So 5/8 subtract 1/4 is equal to 3/8. Let's do C. I have 3/8 plus 5/16. Okay, so we already know that the common denominator is 16. It's already done for you. So I don't have to change the 5 over here. It stays the same. But I have to convert 3/8 to an equivalent fraction of something 16. Well, to go from 8 to 16, we multiplied it by 2. So I have to multiply the top numerator by 2. And 3 times 2 is just 6. So I can say that the number fraction 6/16 is equivalent to 3/8. Now that they have the same bottom denominators, all I need to do, my answer is going to be over 16. I add the 2 top numerators. 6 plus 5 is 11. Okay? Let's do the last one, D. I have 3 3/8, a mixed fraction. Subtract 1 1/4, another mixed fraction. So the first thing I want to do is I want to convert these two into improper fractions. So, like before, I take the 3 times 8, which is 24. 24 plus 3 is 27. So this is 27 over 8 minus, now let's do 1 1/4. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5, so that's going to be 5 over 4. You'll also notice that now that I want to subtract one from the other, my denominators are different, so I have to have equivalent denominators. I know this is still going to be 27 because it doesn't change. Now, I've got 4 as the denominator on the second fraction. I want to have an 8 on the bottom so I can do the math on it. 4 times 2 is 8, so I have to take 5 times 2 is 10. So 10 over 8 is the same as 5 over 4. It's an equivalent fraction. So now that I've got the same denominator, I just do the math. It's going to be over 8, and 27 subtract 10 is 17 eighths. Or, if I want to take this improper fraction and I want to convert it to a mixed fraction, 8 goes into 17 2 times, which is 16. There's 1 remaining, and the answer is 2 1/8. So that was adding and subtracting. Now let's do multiplying and dividing fractions. Well, multiplying and dividing fractions are a little bit easier than adding and subtracting. We have 1/2. Let's do A here. 1/2 times 3/8. All I do is I multiply everything on the bottom by everything, or everything on the top by everything on the bottom. So 1/2 times 3/8 is just 1 times 3, which is 3, and 2 times 8 is 16. That was really easy. Let's do one more B. 1/4 times 5/8. Well, multiply the top. 1 times 5 is 5, and the bottom, 4 times 8 is 32. So very simple to do. Okay, you guys can do C and D. Let's go on to dividing. It says calculate, express the result in simplest terms. Well, when we divide 5/8 divided by 1/8, what we want to do is we want to be able to multiply the top and the bottom together, but the only way we can do that when we're dividing is we multiply by what's called the reciprocal. Okay, so I take the first number, let's do A here, take the first number 5/8, it says divided by 1/8, well that's the same as 5/8 times, and I flip and reverse those two numbers on the second fraction, and it's 8 over 1. So I take the top number, 5 times 8 is 40, all over 8 times 1 is 8, and 8 goes into 40 5 times. So I can say that 5/8 divided by 1/8 is the number 5. Okay, let's do B. 1/2 divided by 3/4. Well, that's the same as 1/2 times the reciprocal of 3/4, the reverse of it, which is 4/3. Now that I've taken the dividing sign out and put it into a multiplication step, it's really easy to finish it off. 1 times 4 is 4, and 2 times 3 is 6. Okay, we've got a fraction of 4/6 as our answer, but we can simplify that. What number divides equally into 4 and 6? Well, it's the number 2. So 4, divide that by 2, and we divide that by 2, and 4 divided by 2 is 2. And 6 divided by 2 is 3, so we can say that our answer is 2/3. Okay, you guys can go ahead and work on C and D. Okay, number 8, express each measurement in the unit shown, round to the nearest tenth of a unit if necessary. Use the charts inside the back cover. Well, 5 kilometers is equal to how many miles? Well, we know that there's 0.62 miles in a kilometer, so I take the number 5 kilometers, I multiply that by 0.62 miles per kilometer, and I end up with an answer. Well, let's take our calculator. Let's turn it on, and I get 5 times 0.62, and 5 kilometers is approximately 3.1 miles. Okay. You guys can do the other conversions for B, C, and D. Just use the chart in the back of your book. It's not that difficult, okay? So that's it for getting started. Then we'll go to 3.1.